All right, get ready for this one. Today we're taking a deep dive into a condition that sounds like it's straight out of a tragic romance novel. We're talking about broken heart syndrome. Yeah, you heard that right. Turns out it's a real medical condition.
It is.
And we've got some pretty interesting research from the Institute of Human Anatomy to help us sort of unpack the science behind it.
Yeah, and it's not just a poetic way to describe sadness. Broken heart syndrome, or Takotsubo Cardiomyopathy, is an actual serious condition, and intense emotional or physical stress can really have an impact on the shape and the function of your heart.
Okay, Takotsubo Cardiomyopathy. That's kind of hard to say. What does it even mean?
Well, Takotsubo actually translates to octopus trap in Japanese.
Really?
And believe it or not, that's exactly what the left ventricle of the heart, the main pumping chamber, starts to resemble in this condition. It balloons out at the bottom and constricts at the top.
So you're telling me that emotions, like intense grief or even, I don't know, extreme joy, can cause the heart to actually, warp into the shape of an octopus trap. I'm not sure if I should be amazed or terrified.
It is pretty wild, isn't it? And what's even more intriguing is that scientists are still trying to pinpoint the exact cause.
Wait, really? So they know the heart changes shape, but they don't know why?
Precisely. The current thinking is that a sudden flood of hormones, like adrenaline, might be the culprit. Think about how your heart races when you're scared or stressed. Well, it's like that, but on a much larger scale. And it can potentially overwhelm the heart muscle.
Okay, I'm starting to understand the connection between, emotional stress and the physical heart. So you said current thinking. So does that mean there are other theories out there?
There are. Some research actually suggests that it might not be just a simple adrenaline overload. They're looking into the possibility of microvascular dysfunction, which means tiny blood vessels in the heart might be constricting, further impacting blood flow. It's like the plumbing of the heart is going haywire along with the structure.
So it's more than just like a surge of emotion. There might be these tiny, almost invisible changes happening in the blood vessels too. That adds a whole other layer of complexity.
But, okay, so if doctors don't even fully understand what causes it, how do they even diagnose broken heart syndrome?
That's where it gets tricky. The symptoms you might experience, like chest pain and shortness of breath, they mimic a heart attack. So you absolutely should never try to self-diagnose. And if you're ever experiencing these symptoms, seek medical attention immediately.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if the symptoms are so similar, how can doctors tell the difference between, an actual heart attack and broken heart syndrome? One of the key differences is that in a heart attack, there's an actual blockage in the coronary arteries, preventing blood flow to the heart muscle. But in broken heart syndrome, the arteries are usually clear. And to determine this, doctors use a variety of tests, including an angiogram, which allows them to visualize the blood flow in those arteries.
So an angiogram is kind of like a detective's magnifying glass, helping doctors see if there's an actual blockage causing the problem. That's pretty reassuring to know. But let's say you were diagnosed with broken heart syndrome. What happens then? What's the recovery process like?
Well, the good news is that most people make a full recovery. With rest and sometimes medication, like beta blockers, which help manage those stress hormones we talked about, the heart typically returns to its normal shape and function within a few months.
Wait, so even though my heart might morph into an octopus trap temporarily, it's not necessarily like a permanent situation.
Exactly.
That is good news.
Though the name is dramatic and the symptoms are serious, broken heart syndrome is generally not fatal, especially if you don't have other underlying health conditions.
That's a huge relief to hear. But there's one thing that really stuck out to me in the research. This condition seems to disproportionately affect women, especially post-menopausal women. Do scientists have any clue why that is?
That's one of the biggest mysteries surrounding broken heart syndrome. The research hasn't uncovered a definitive answer yet. It's a frustrating gap in our understanding, leaving both doctors and patients searching for answers.
It's almost like the condition itself has a broken heart, missing a crucial piece of information. So what are researchers looking into? What could possibly explain this gender gap?
Well, one avenue they're exploring is the role of hormones, specifically the changes women experience after menopause. Could fluctuations in estrogen levels play a role? Could there be a connection to other hormonal shifts? It's a complex puzzle, and there's a lot more research to be done before we have a clear picture.
So we're left with this, tantalizing clue, this gender disparity. That could hold the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of broken heart syndrome. It's getting really interesting.
It really is. And it underscores how much we still don't know about the intricate relationship between our emotions, hormones, and heart health.
This is definitely a deep dive. and we've only just scratched the surface.
You're absolutely right. And you know what's particularly fascinating is that while the medical community is working to unravel the mysteries of broken heart syndrome, there's also a growing body of research on ways to protect ourselves from this kind of intense emotional and physical stress.
Okay, now you've really got my attention. We've covered the problem. But now, let's talk solutions. What can we actually do to safeguard our hearts from these heartbreak moments?
Well, there's several things you can do. Some involve lifestyle changes, while others focus on understanding and managing your emotional responses to stress.
This is exactly what I was hoping to hear. Tell me everything. How can I protect my heart from this?
First, let's talk about...
Okay, so, what kind of maintenance are we talking about?
Well, first and foremost, managing stress is absolutely crucial. Remember that flood of hormones we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, chronic stress keeps those hormones pumping, putting extra pressure on your cardiovascular system.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress could potentially reduce the risk of broken heart syndrome.
Exactly. Techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises, or yoga can help regulate your stress response and keep those hormones in check. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Even taking a few minutes each day to just sit quietly and focus on your breath can make a world of difference.
I've dabbled in meditation before, and I always felt calmer afterward, but I never really connected it to heart health. It's amazing how these simple practices can have such a profound impact on our bodies.
It really is. And it's not just about calming the mind, it's about training your body to respond to stress in a healthier way.
So stress management is key. What else can we do to keep our hearts strong and resilient?
Well, beyond managing stress, a healthy lifestyle plays a huge role in overall heart health, which in turn can help you weather those emotional storms more effectively. This includes things like regular exercise, a balanced diet, and getting enough sleep.
Okay, that makes sense. But I have to admit, I sometimes struggle with sticking to a healthy routine. Do these things really make that much of a difference when it comes to broken heart syndrome?
Absolutely. I remember those tiny blood vessels we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
the ones that might be involved in microvascular dysfunction.
Wow.
Well, a healthy lifestyle helps keep those vessels strong and functioning properly. It's like giving your heart the best possible support system to handle whatever life throws your way.
So it's not just about preventing the big emotional triggers.
Yeah.
It's about building up the strength and resilience of the heart itself.
Precisely. Think of it like this. Imagine your heart is a muscle, and a healthy lifestyle is like strength training for that muscle. The stronger your heart is, the better it can handle those sudden bursts of stress hormones.
Wow, that's a really powerful way to think about it. I'm definitely motivated to take better care of my heart now. But are there any specific foods or nutrients that are particularly beneficial for preventing broken heart syndrome?
That's a great question. While there's no magic bullet when it comes to diet, research suggests that a diet rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and potassium can support overall heart health. So think colorful fruits and veggies, fatty fish like salmon, and foods like bananas and avocados.
Okay, I can definitely get behind that. Pass the guacamole. But what about supplements? Are there any that are particularly helpful for heart health?
It's always best to get your nutrients from whole foods whenever possible. But there is some evidence to suggest that certain supplements, like CoQ10 and magnesium, might offer additional heart protective benefits.
So a healthy diet is the foundation, and supplements can be like those extra tools in your toolbox.
Exactly. And speaking of tools, there's another powerful one we haven't mentioned yet, the power of social connection.
Connection.
Yeah.
How does that relate to heart health?
Well, strong social connections and a sense of belonging can act as a buffer against stress. Having people you can rely on, confide in, and share experiences with can make a world of difference when it comes to navigating difficult emotions.
So it's not just about taking care of our physical bodies. It's about nurturing our social and emotional well-being as well.
Absolutely. And it works both ways, offering support to others, volunteering in your community, or simply making an effort to connect with loved ones can also boost your own resilience and sense of purpose.
I love that. It's like a virtuous cycle. The more we connect and support each other, the stronger we become, both individually and collectively. But let's be real. Life throws curveballs. Even if we do all the right things, heartbreak and difficult emotions are inevitable. So what happens if we find ourselves in the midst of a really challenging situation? What can we do to navigate those intense emotions without putting undue stress on our hearts?
That's an important question. And while there's no one-size-fits-all answer, There are some strategies that can be incredibly helpful.
I'm all ears. Share your wisdom. What can we do to protect our hearts during times of, like, emotional turmoil?
First and foremost, don't be afraid to seek professional help. Talking to a therapist or counselor can provide you with a safe space to process your emotions, develop coping mechanisms, and build resilience. It's like having a personal trainer for your emotional well-being.
That's such a great way to put it. It reminds me, therapy is often stigmatized, but it's really a sign of strength and self-awareness.
I couldn't agree more. Reaching out for support is not a weakness. It's a sign that you're taking proactive steps to protect your well-being.
So therapy is a great option. What other tools do we have in our, emotional first aid kit?
Well, in addition to seeking professional help, remember those stress-reducing techniques we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
They become even more crucial during difficult times. Taking even a few minutes to practice deep breathing or meditation can help calm your nervous system and create a sense of space between you and your emotions. So those little moments of self-care can make a big difference in how we weather those emotional storms. Exactly. And remember, you're not alone. Lean on your support network. Talk to trusted friends or family members. Sharing your experiences with others can help you process difficult emotions and feel less isolated.
And sometimes just acknowledging that you're going through something tough can be incredibly empowering. It's like saying, hey, this is hard, but I'm going to get through it.
Absolutely. It's about giving yourself permission to feel your emotions, but also recognizing that they don't have to control you.
This is all such great advice. And it's so much more than just preventing broken heart syndrome. It's about cultivating a life that is full of joy, resilience, and deep connection. But let's be honest, even with all these tools and strategies, sometimes we still get hurt. So how can we approach those experiences of heartbreak and disappointment in a way that allows us to grow and heal rather than break?
You know, that reminds me of a beautiful Japanese art form called kintsugi. Have you heard of it?
Kintsugi. No, tell me more. What is it?
It's the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. So instead of trying to hide the cracks, they're highlighted with gold, making the piece even more beautiful and valuable for having been broken.
Wow, that's an incredible metaphor. What a beautiful way to think about healing and resilience.
Isn't it? It suggests that our scars, our experiences of heartbreak and hardship don't diminish us. They become part of our story, adding depth and resilience to who we are.
I love that. Instead of being afraid of heartbreak, we can see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, by embracing our vulnerability and seeking support when we need it, we can build hearts that are not only stronger, but also more beautiful for having been broken.
That is such a powerful thought, and one I think we can all take to heart. Speaking of taking things to heart, I think we're ready to wrap up this deep dive. What are some final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with? You know, it's amazing how we started this deep dive thinking about a broken heart as this tragic, almost poetic concept. And now we're talking about kintsugi, this beautiful art of mending brokenness with gold. It feels like we've journeyed from a place of fear and vulnerability to a place of hope and resilience.
It's a testament to the incredible power of knowledge, isn't it? When we understand the science behind a condition like broken heart syndrome, it loses some of its mystique, and we can start to approach it with a sense of empowerment. And then when we connect that scientific understanding to practical strategies for self-care and emotional resilience, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
It's like we've given our listeners not just information, but a whole toolkit for navigating the ups and downs of life, with more awareness and resilience. But before we send them off to explore their newfound knowledge, it's one key takeaway you hope they'll remember long after this deep dive is over.
That's a great question. I think the most important thing to remember is that your heart, both literally and figuratively, is incredibly resilient. You have the power to protect it, to nurture it, and to mend it when it's been broken. Wow. And the tools for doing so are within your reach.
I love that. It's a message of hope and empowerment. And it reminds me, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the science of stress hormones to the art of kintsugi. But I think there's one more important piece to this puzzle, the power of joy.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about managing stress and navigating difficult emotions. But cultivating joy, gratitude, and positive emotions is just as important for heart health.
So it's not just about avoiding the negative, it's about actively seeking out and embracing the positive.
Precisely. What brings you joy? What are you grateful for? What makes you laugh until your belly hurts? These are the things that nourish your heart and fuel your resilience.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Because ultimately, this deep dive wasn't just about broken heart syndrome, was it?
No.
It was about understanding the intricate connection between our hearts and minds, and about empowering ourselves to live a life that is full of meaning, purpose, and yes, even joy, despite the inevitable challenges along the way.
Beautifully said. And if there's one thing I hope our listeners will take away from this conversation, it's this. Be curious about your own heart. Pay attention to how it feels, both physically and emotionally, and never underestimate its incredible capacity for healing and growth.
And on that inspiring note, it's time to wrap up this journey into the fascinating world of broken hearts. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, keep those hearts open, curious, and then filled with joy.